Hello. Hi everyone. Woohoo! I'm inviting Faye over. We're going to talk about the year 2023. Just have to figure out how to do that. How are you doing? Okay. Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
good, thanks. How's it going?
Fine. Sorry for the slight delay. I was trying to figure it out.
It's all good. We're connected now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and it's Mercury retrograde, so I was, expecting anything less. But how are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I'm excited about this. A lot of information came in, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is also the live that I'm hosting myself on my page, so it's definitely big. And I was thinking about the fact that the last time I joined the live, it was also during Mercury retrograde. So I think that's interesting, how this plays out.
Mercury is a fun planet.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, so now that we are here, we can start. So basically, to explain it again, we are going to go over the energy of 2023 in terms of the astrology, and then Faye is also to come in with the energetical side of things. I guess you can explain it better because you're an energy reader, and you can let people know what it is that you do exactly.
Hi everyone, I'm Faye. And so how energy can come through is sometimes it comes through as a picture. It could be like a visual representation of something. It can be metaphorical. It can be like a song will come in that's very, very notable to like a particular time period, or that can resonate with someone in particular. It could be like a movie reference. It's any way that the information will come in is a way that is best going to make sense to the people that I'm talking to. So I hope that the information that came in for me is going to resonate with you all because it came in very, very visually, and I find that to be very interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel that the energy of the year is overall, if you were to describe it?
So it's interestingly enough because I know that we're starting the new year with three planets in retrograde right now. And the way that the beginning of the year's energy came in is actually connected to the retrograde planets in an interesting way, and it's going to actually tie the whole year together. So energetically, it was kind of shown to me like this is a tipping point year in terms of all of our collective energy and also our individual energy. And if you imagine, so they have this like in lawyers' offices in the United States. I don't know if this is something that they have like in other countries, but you can imagine like scales in a lawyer's office. And they're supposed to represent like the scales of justice. So you can imagine there's like a bar in the middle, and then there's two baskets on either side. And the judgment can go in your favor or against your favor. So the way that the energy for this year came into me was shown like this scales of justice, and that this is a tipping point. But because of the fact that three planets are retrograde, it's giving us time to first just get used to the energy of the year before we actually start to move forward into it. Because when those three planets start to go direct throughout January, there's going to be a lot of positive energy and a lot of positive momentum. So the question is, what do you want to put, where do you want to put the energy and effort into? What side of your own individual scales do you want to put it into? So kind of like this quieter, dormant beginning of the year period is giving us time to adjust before the opportunities actually start to come in, and then we can decide what opportunities are for us. Because I feel like this is going to be a big year, big opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel the same way. And, you know, so as you were saying, I guess the first major transit of the year is on January 12th when Mars goes direct. And that's the thing, Mars has been retrograde for a while, so we've been kind of this, you know, energy, which is a bit like, oh, you know, we don't have energy in general. We feel maybe a bit stuck. And also it's the end of the year, so I mean the beginning now, but it still doesn't feel like the beginning, right? There's still something, some type of weird things going on. And as you said, you know, as Mars goes direct, I also took some notes on that, that it's going to be a lot about the body and a lot about how we can use our body in order to take action, even if it's just listening to it, right? Because maybe during this time, okay, we have learned, it's a retrograde, but we have learned how to listen to our bodies because we have sort of like forced to take a rest, I guess, during this goes direct. It's like, okay, now I know how to rest. I mean, now I've learned how to rest. So now I need to use this energy to do greater things and to do bigger things.
Yeah, I love that. That resonates so much because it's interesting also, as I was kind of like looking into the energy as it went forward, like into January, it was shown to me that the scales are actually getting bigger. And it was getting actually so big that we could not, like, if we had a boulder that we were going to put into it, it was so big that we wouldn't even be able to put a boulder in. So then it's like, well, hold on. How am I supposed to take this opportunity that's come my way, put it inside? But it was shown to me that it will be with ease. So either we will get stronger when the opportunity comes our way and we'll be able to lift a bigger boulder, so to say, that comes up, or the boulder, when it's the right opportunity for us, it will fit in our hand and we can put it at the place that it's meant to go. So I love how that kind of ties into the body, like us getting stronger for the opportunities that are specifically designed for us.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really nice. That makes sense. So it's like basically you don't have to do anything because the universe kind of attracts it, but at the same time, you know, the universe also sees when you try to put in effort and it kind of, right, reciprocates. And or it's just like we don't think and that's it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like we've been so conditioned to believe that in order to get what we want, we have to do more. But I think this period right now at the beginning of the year before everything kind of goes direct, it's actually showing us that what we're going to get throughout the year is not connected to the effort. It's connected to like what is kind of contracted to us. And it's this meeting, so to say, of when you are prepared and when it's meant for you. And then there will be less effort that's actually involved in it.
That sounds amazing, to be honest.
Right?
It sounds really exciting. And in general, I think that the energy of this year feels like that. It feels fresh, you know, because there's lots of changes going on, but it's changes that are necessary. It feels, and necessary not in the way of, you know, last year was more like transformative changes that we couldn't really control. And it felt like, you know, something was ripped off. But now it's more of a change that's fresh and new, and it gives this, you know, new perspective. So that's quite nice. Do you have anything to add on Mars going direct? Anything?
Yeah, so it's kind of also interesting. So I was getting this picture while I was kind of looking into specifically like the three notable the planets that are going to go direct in January. And specifically Mars was shown to me because we think of Mars as kind of like the planet of like forward momentum. And again, if we're going to like work with this idea of it being like rocks that are too big for us to handle, it brought my attention to this reference of like one of my son's books. And this is, I promise it's going somewhere. It was shown to me. So the name of the books is called Heroes in Training. And it's all about the Olympians and how they're going on like specific quests to get them stronger to become ultimately the Olympians that they're meant to be. So one of the Olympians, when they're on a quest, she has they each get like magical abilities, and her magical abilities, she didn't know it at the time, but it's actually she had these seeds, and when she first got her magical her magical packet, so to say, it came as a way of a really, really large bag. And they were looking at it and they're like, well, this is too big. How are we ever going to lift it up? But because it was meant for her and it was contracted for her, as soon as she touched it, it became, again, small enough to fit into her hand. So let's explore the possibility of Mars going direct, which is allowing the things that are meant for us to come more easily to us. That when it's meant for you, it will literally like fit into your hand.
Yeah, I, that ties in with, yeah, it does tie in the energy in terms of like astrologically of the year as well. Because of the fact
Yeah.
that when Mercury went retrograde and like I talked about rest and things like that, it's like you have to just, I think I even made a post on this saying that, you have to basically just chill because even if you stress and even if you don't stress, it's the same point. So it's kind of, that thing of like learning how to do things smarter and not just exhausting ourselves just for the sake of.
Yeah. By the way, your posts have been bananas lately.
Thank you. I don't
They've
know
been
what.
like, really off the chain, off the chart. I'm loving them.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess.
I just, it needs to be said. It just needs to be said.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's the Capricorn energy, I'm telling you, because I have this stellium in my first house, and right now a lot of planets are in the same places in my chart, so it's like really good for me. Um,
It's
yeah.
favorable Capricorn energy for sure.
Yeah, and we both know it, right? Because so.
Yeah.
Hey, so yeah, in general, I also wanted to mention with this Mars going direct, because it's going to be direct for the whole year. So it's also about pleasure, about just enjoying the present moment, enjoying like all types of, like doing whatever it is that you want to do in the moment and just being present and sort of just doing it because you want to, I guess that's also one of the things.
Oh, that sounds lovely. More of that, please.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it also depends, we're talking about all these positive energies, but it depends on each individual person to sort of like feel that and allow themselves to, take that energy as well.
But I think that's also a good lesson or a good kind of like thing for us to hold throughout the year, knowing that that Mars is going to be direct, which is there's always going to be challenges. They're always going to come up, but there's always an opportunity for us, even in those challenges, to find the ease, to find the pleasure, to look in other areas of our life that are pleasurable and that we can still derive the pleasure from.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. Um, so then, on January 18th, Mercury goes direct as well. So really good because it just lets everything flow easily. And this year we have the retrogrades. All the Mercury retrogrades are in Earth signs. So that will also be interesting. But for this part, when Mars and Mercury go direct around the same time, it's like like a relief for everyone. But a relief in the sense of, like I said, being more present, being more in the present moment, because you've had your time to be introspective, and now it's time to kind of on things and also to on things and to kind of share what you have gained in this period where you're introspective.
Yeah. It really actually feels like the year is not going to begin until later in January because of that. And it's kind of going to be curious, like we're saying, that we have all of these Mercury's retrogrades in Earth signs, but it feels like the year is really going to, or like that first tipping point is actually going to begin when Mercury goes direct. So I think it's going to be an interesting kind of energy that flows through all areas of our life starting at that time.
For sure, yeah, it will be really interesting to observe. That's true. Um, and it's going to be in Gemini. So I think lots of, I don't know, I'm just imagining this as like talking nonstop or something, you know. I mean, as the like whole part of it, but
I feel like there's going to be a lot of socializing actually this year because like you're saying it is in Gemini right now, but it's like we have like this dormant period and then we're coming out of this dormant period and it's in Gemini, so it just feels like we're all going to be like wanting to go out and seeing people and connecting with people, but where we're more outward direct. And it's so interesting because it's the dichotomy between like still in the dead of winter, but also energetically where we're going to feel pulled to connect with people more like in person as opposed to like on the phone or text messaging or it's going to be such an interesting energy that we're going to start to come out of it.
sure, yeah, because I think for the past years we've been in that, you know, we've been a lot connected online, and now we're kind of over it. I mean, we're getting a bit sick of it. Like we need a break for sure. So I think, you know, astrologically, actually, the year only starts in Aries season, you know. So I feel like the spring also might bring this new, fresh energy as well. And because it will be warmer, and I mean, it depends where you're living, but here at least it's going to be warmer. So people will be more eager to spend time in nature in general. And also because Jupiter will go in Taurus, but we'll get that later on. But
Yeah. I think it's going to be like a hot girl summer in the spring. There's just like so much of this positive momentum and positive energy happening around like March time. It's like imagine if you have like a bottle of seltzer and it gets shaken up. That's what like March feels like. It's going to be like an explosion of this positive energy or just energy in general. And it's going to be robust.
yeah, that's true. I mean, um, yeah, I think you have like a good metaphor for that.
The seltzer, right? I know. I just every time I think about like March time, it just literally is like seltzer exploding out of like a bottle.
I want that hot girl summer. Yeah, I'm just checking people's comments. They're liking
It's
it.
gonna be a hot girl summer, I promise for everybody. But it's gonna be like a hot girl summer and like earlier on in the year. So it's just gonna be like one very, very long and memorable hot girl summer, starting in like spring, going through actual summer.
All right. Um, okay, so if you don't have anything to add on Mercury retrograde, we can talk about Saturn entering Pisces, which is in March. So it's right at the beginning of spring, right? This one is
Yes.
it's a change because Saturn has been in Pisces for a while now in Aquarius, and now it's going to, sorry, Saturn has been in Aquarius for a while now, and now it's going into Pisces for the next 3 years or so. I mean, almost. And obviously, it's a new, fresh energy that we are going to deal with, but Saturn is fresh, you know, friendly type as well. So people who have Saturn in Pisces actually are going to go through their Saturn return right now, which is going to be a time of growth. But I feel like collectively, it's also going to be a time of growth, especially around. I feel like this has a lot to do with spirituality in general,
Mhm.
and relate to it, and especially you know, because it's been. I feel like it's been a lot of information lately. There has been a lot of information online spiritually, and I think that this Saturn in Pisces is going to filter it out a bit. Like I feel that, you know, somehow, I don't know, there's going to be some laws around it that are going to be implemented, or um, things are going to be more strict. But I feel like right now everyone can, you know, say something or create content, spiritual content, and it can be deemed as, you know, true. And it's also kind of our responsibility as the person who's watching that content to feel if it resonates with us or if it's actually something that we believe in. And that's going to be something we'll have to learn. But also, like, the person who does the content will have to make sure that, you know, it's to think a bit about it before just putting it out there, I feel like.
That's interesting. Did you say you think there's going to be laws about it? Because I think that could be really interesting.
I think so, yeah, by the end of the transit. Also, I mean, maybe not so quick though, but for instance, I was thinking immediately of those accounts that are being created, like I have probably like five fake accounts with the name, the imposters accounts, whatever, with my name and things like that. Like, I feel like there's not enough, especially in the spiritual community, you know, there's not enough laws on this, like
Yeah.
in general.
So a little bit more like regulation, but it sounds like it's going to be like a positive regulation, a regulation to like protect us more.
Yeah, because Saturn in Pisces is all about boundaries. So even if it's just, in this, I mean, I was referring to this spiritual domain, but it's boundaries in general, boundaries on a personal level, because Pisces is very boundless, like the sign. It's like all about emotion, and it doesn't really know when to stop sharing emotions, when to stop feeling emotions, when those emotions are yours, when they're not yours. So it's like being all over the place. But Saturn coming here, it's kind of teaching us how to set those boundaries and know when to maybe even take a step back from other people, maybe not take on other people's emotions, maybe not open up to someone who doesn't show us the same type of emotional needs that we kind of need. And it's a lot to talk about with Saturn in Pisces, for
That
sure.
is so interesting. And that actually, it makes a lot of sense and it lines up really, really clearly with the things that came in, which is why I love doing things like this because there's actually so many. And I know that we had been like texting before about like what was coming in. And some things it was like, well, I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to line up. This is one of those things that actually line up in like a very interesting kind of way. Because what was shown to me for this period of Saturn moving into Pisces is that imagine wanting to remove yourself from like the city. It's too noisy, there's too much stimulation around you. So you're like in a building and you're climbing up and you're going to like the roof of the building where you're going to have like a better vantage point and you'll be able to see down into the city, but you're going to already be like more removed from it. And imagine that there's also, or this is the way it was shown to me, there's like a mist. There's a little bit of like a mist. So it's not so completely clear what you're able to see in the city down below, but you can see the lights. You can see like the shape. You can see like the bones or the structure, but not everything is like crystal clear with details.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was shown like who are you bringing up onto the roof with you? Like who's in your inner tribe? Who has already like, who's in your boundaries? And then unrolling a blueprint and looking at the blueprint, but also wanting to be aware of the fact that you don't want to just be stuck in the blueprint, but you want to remember that the blueprint is serving a purpose, and the purpose is to build something. So now that we have that Saturnian energy in Pisces, not to get like stuck in the dreaminess of it or in the blueprint only, but to remember the blueprint is here to serve a purpose, and what are we building with it? And who are you inviting in? Who's in your boundaries that you want to build these things with? So I think that's just so interesting to hear astrologically the perspective of it and about the boundaries and to see how energetically that's lining up also.
Yeah, I think it's so cool because you're like, explaining it in a very, I mean, in a visual way, the way you saw it, and with astrology, it's like easier to sort of relate it to like the mundane world and things like that, but it's kind of the same thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, wow, it's very interesting, like metaphorically how you saw it and how it ties out up to what I said. And in general, this thing what you said with who you do, that's also important. And I feel like this is one of the lessons that we have learned from, I mean, Saturn is still in Aquarius, so the lesson that we are learning from this, it's like, how to build our own community, and not so much community, just sort like a small group of friends and of people who are there for us and to help us in our journey. That's also very
Right.
important.
Like, who's our tribe?
Our tribe, yeah, soul tribe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be also a big theme that's going to kind of come up throughout this year. Like there's going to be different like trial, like not necessarily like bad trials and tribulations, but more there's going to be things that are going to come up throughout the year that are going to highlight for us who is our tribe. Like who are we bringing with us? Like who's your, you know, for lack of a better way of putting it, who's your ride or die? Is it going to be the people that we thought it was going to be, or are new people going to actually like step in?
And I think also new people will step in for sure. Because, you know, with the Pisces, again, it's all about community as well, but also about helping one another, you know, that there's that empathetic side of Pisces as well. Um, and, you know, it sounds lovely as well, like what we were talking about, but at the same time, Saturn is all about lessons. So this thing is not going to come easy. It's more of a, you know, a lesson that we are going to learn looking back, I feel like. But while we go through it, it might feel a bit rough. You know, it might feel a bit like we are lost, like we're confused, because Pisces is a very, you know, has a very confusing energy. Um,
Yeah.
and like we have no direction, but then slowly as Saturn starts to teach us the lessons by putting us in a situation in which we have to actually, let's say, get hurt, you know, or things like that in order to learn. And then
Mm,
after experience that, at the end of it, we'll be like, oh, wow, so that was the purpose of it, you know, but we'll realize it later on.
interesting. I think that actually connects to the visual representation of that I had seen this mist. It's
Mhm.
like this nebulous kind of confusing vibe once you're in it, but then once the mist clears, you'll have a much clearer picture of everything that was going on like around you that you weren't able to see at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's the
Hmm.
same thing.
Saturn, man, I tell you, it's an interesting energy. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays and how it interacts with Pisces because they feel so like they're very very different kind of energies. So to see how they come together is going to be a trip.
Yeah, I feel like they're opposites, you know. I mean, not really opposites, but no, they are kind of, you know, one is very strict and the other one is boundless. So it's like they're crashing a bit. Like one is rational, the other one is emotional.
It's like the teacher in the classroom and it's the unruly student that doesn't want to be in the classroom.
And also, you know, Pisces has to do with because it's so boundless and like that, like it can also indicate addiction, for instance. You know, sometimes Pisces indicates addiction, and the moment we kind of do things without rationalizing them, like in order to get closer to our subconscious. But for instance, drinking, right? Like we drink because we kind of want to get in that state in which we are closer to our subconscious, but it's not getting there in a healthy way, right? So we have to
Mm.
find another way to get there by meditating, for instance, you know, or by doing all these spiritual practices, which are going to be more healthy for us, but we might realize it only in time as we find out that there is better ways and better tools to manage our emotions than, you know, addiction. I mean, you know, and
I love that. So it's kind of like an opportunity for us to have like a healthy glow up, so to say.
yeah, if we take it.
I love that. Yeah, so it's like connecting me right now to like the scales I had seen at the beginning. It's like what are you putting your effort and attention and energy into? Is it going to be like a healthier expression of this you know, Piscean energy, or could it be possibly like an unhealthy option? The choice is ours, you know, free will reigns supreme, but at the end of the year when we're looking back, like what side do we want to have filled in more, so we have the opportunity and the option to fill in wherever we want, you know, because our energy goes where our attention first is applied. So where are we going to put our attention this year?
Yeah, for sure. And it's also about, I guess, goals, and I think that's setting the right goals. Not necessarily like sitting and setting your goals, even though that's amazing. But in the sense of priorities, I guess, if it depends on your priority as well, because if you feel like greater purpose, then you realize the things that are kind of a waste of time for you and that don't resonate with you and that stay in the way of you getting to that purpose.
Yeah, that resonates big time.
Yeah, with me too. um, okay. Do you want to move on to Pluto in Aquarius?
Let's do it.
This,
Oh boy.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm still processing this energy. I mean, I'm going to have to process it for a long time now, but um, so like Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. It's going to move into Aquarius on 23rd of March. And then wait, I wrote here. And then on June 11th is going to go back into Capricorn for a bit, but then in 2024 is going to go back in Aquarius. We are having like a bit of a sneak peek right now of Pluto in Aquarius. And then once it's in Aquarius back in 2024, it's going to be there for the next 20 years. So it's not, yeah, it's like a lot, a lot of time of Pluto in Aquarius because hasn't been, it's been only for 12 years, I guess. Um, but Pluto in Aquarius will be.
Personally, I cannot wait for it to get out of Capricorn. It's been in my sign for 12 years. I am done with it. It's like dead to me. I never want to see it again. It's like, I know it's gonna like leave my sign and then it's gonna come back into my sign. I think I'm partially like in denial. I don't want to recognize that it's ever gonna be in Capricorn again. It has been, it's not been like friendly. So like get the F out of my sign. So I'm really, really excited that it's getting out. Um, a lot kind of came through for this period. Do you want to talk about the signification of it astrologically?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that I'm not glad because I'm an Aquarius, so 20 years for me now, but
Oh no, I'm sorry. Shit, I forgot about that. It'll be okay though. It'll be okay. I promise. It'll be okay.
so Pluto being in my rising sign, it's been hard. So it's just a continuation. Anyway, yeah, so talking about it. So it's, Pluto is on the span of 20 years information that's going to happen, and it's more of a, like a generational thing. It's like this change. It's like a generation is ending and another one is beginning. And in 20 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, wow, this generation was like this, in terms of Pluto, the Pluto in Aquarius generation. But Aquarius has to do with thoughts. So, and Pluto is all about, going into the dark and seeing the not so nice part of things. So Aquarius being technology and Pluto being this, I feel like it has to do with kind of some negative consequences of technology that we're going to start seeing because we have been doing this for a while now, right? So, I mean, they're already starting to show up, but I feel like it's going to be more of it. Like, for instance, looking at the generation that grew up with technology and seeing how how that's going to affect them in the future, for instance. This also can indicate, I don't know, like it's the dark side of the internet, I guess. It definitely talks about that, and it's definitely not fun. But on the lighter side, I mean, more positive side is we can use this in order to bring justice because Aquarius is, again, it's a sign who wants to bring justice, a sign who cares for, the people that are being left out because Aquarius knows how it feels to be left out. So it's like there might be a lot of revolutions or people, you know, that are going to fight for their rights and things like that. And also with Saturn being in Pisces, which Pisces, like I said, it's all about empathy as well. And then Pluto being in Aquarius, them together, like, strong in the sense of I feel like activism and, you know, lately I feel like a lot of nonprofit organizations have started to, you know, be more impactful. And I think that for the next year, it's going to really make a change. And that would be amazing to see, to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's, yeah, there's going to be a lot of, I think, positives that come out of it long term, but
Long
it's
term, yeah.
coming out of it through transformation, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, it's ambiguous at the same time because Aquarius is a bit weird, right? So it's a bit unpredictable. It's ruled by Uranus. So it's like, okay, it's transformation, but we cannot pinpoint where the transformation, how it's going to come up, you know, when we're going to just wait and be like, oh, so this thing is new, this thing has changed, you know, it's like it's going to happen like on the span of a few years, but at the same time, fast in the sense of like we're going to evolve a lot. Like, and looking back, it's going to be like, whoa, uh, you know, how like for instance, technology evolved a lot in time, and it keeps on going. So I feel like it's going to even go even faster in that sense as well.
Oof. Okay. So this is interesting. So for what I got like from the energetic side of it, so first of all, it was shown to me like the end of an era. So if you can imagine the way like the roaring 20s looked, like the 1920s where we had like the flapper girls, and we can never ever go back to that time period again. Like unless we literally like time travel. That era, that generation, like you were talking about generations, it's gone. We can only look back at it with some level of nostalgia, but we can't bring it, we can't recreate it. So what was shown for me for this time period is that it's the end of a party, even though I would definitely not say that like Pluto and Capricorn is a party, but it's the metaphorical image here. Imagine there's like streamers and ribbons hung from like the ceiling or hung from like a door frame. And we're starting to pull all of those things down. And that from pulling those things down, we can now see, and the lights have been turned on. It's like the party is over now. So we're pulling all the ribbons and the streamers down. The lights have been turned on. As the ribbons and streamers come down, we can see more into the environment that the party has kind of been held in. So it's like this illusion now that everything is coming down and now that the lights have been turned on, so to say, it's where the illusion of the last 12 years is being dissolved. And we can kind of see more clearly everything that we weren't able to see before. So it's what was obstructing our view, what was obstructing our ability to see society or the structures in society clearly. Because now that it's moving into Aquarius, we're going to have a new perspective and a new understanding in, this is an interesting line that actually came through, that the things that made us feel comfortable are those perhaps the things that have also imprisoned us. So this is an opportunity for us to see everything that has transpired over the last 12 years with new, fresh eyes. And that when it moves back into Capricorn, it's giving us an opportunity as well to, like, imagine you went into a shop and you saw something that you liked, but you weren't sure if you wanted to buy it. So it's giving us the opportunity to like go back to that shop, so to say, and decide like, do I really want to buy this? So like, what are the things that have come up over the last 12 years? Are we still going to want to buy into them? Or are we graduating from that? We've went back, we've revisited it. Do I really, really want that thing? Or do I really, really want that life? Or do I really, really want that version of myself that I've been over the last 12 years? Or am I ready to become a whole new person? Am I ready to evolve with the times and change with this very, very notable transit here?
All right. I feel that it's very interesting that you, sorry, something is happening with my throat.
Always the throat.
Right.
All right, take a moment. I'll just fill the air. So as I was kind of like looking through my notes, I also realized I had written about like old attachments. So for example, like what we're going to have a chance to evaluate our old attachments, and in determining if those are attachments that we're going to want to bring forth and bring forward with us into the next era that we're moving into. Yeah. The Great Gatsby. Like look at the film The Great Gatsby. It was so iconic in showing us like a very, very notable period in time, but that's a period we can't go back to. So it's giving us the opportunity to see like, what are we willing to go back to, or what are we like, no, that time period is really done. I'm ready to move on from there. Welcome back.
I think for that, yeah. Well, okay. So this is the reason why I'm not doing things anymore, because for some, when I read, like my throat is very sensitive, and it just gets that.
Yeah. Yes.
That you mentioned about buying. You said that, we're going into a store and wanting to see if if we want to still buy that thing. And the fact that you use the word buy, it's interesting because Capricorn actually, and the fact that Pluto has been into Capricorn until now, Capricorn has to do with consumerism, right? Because Capricorn is around, money and, this whole idea of getting to the top and things like that. So Aquarius, and now that Pluto is moving into Aquarius, it's moving past that, right? It's moving past consumerism, moving past money and this whole idea of engaging into things and learning if that's still for us, if that's something for us, or if we can like see a bit higher than that and not see money as money, and see money as energy, or see money as a way to not something that we depend on, not something that we try to as well. So
Wow,
I feel,
that's interesting.
yeah.
I wonder if this is going to also give us like an opportunity, like you're saying, to like how our relationship with money is actually going to change, and where more of us will have this opportunity to see it for what it is, which I think you said so perfectly. It's an energy. So
Right.
to move us away from the consumer part of it and more towards like the what can it actually be used for on a broader scale? Not just like what am I going to bring home with it, but what can I actually apply it towards? That's very Aquarius, isn't it though?
It is, yeah. It's more like solution oriented, but also very cool, I guess.
It's so cool. I don't know, like at first when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh my God, like I think this is going to be like a really wild time, but I think there's so much potential for what that wild time is actually going to look like energetically. So it doesn't have to be like this really, really scary time period. Like, oh my God, like, no, like this can be like fun also. I
It
hope it's
can
going to be fun also.
have some fun, right? But it's not all bad. It sounds heavy because it's a long time that this transit is going to happen, right? And it's a big change. But like I said, it's necessary in the sense that we couldn't have stayed into that energy of Pluto and Capricorn for longer, right? Because we would have
Yeah.
been stagnant mode. And the reason it's taking 20 years is because probably it needs. to sort of do everything maybe karmically, that it needs to be done.
Mm. Interesting. It reminds me of like everything kind of being in divine timing. So the fact that it's even 20 years, it has to be 20 years. Like it can't be even like a minute less than that. It can't be even like a second less than the amount of time that it's going to be in it. Like it has work that it has to do while it's there, and it needs that exact specific amount of time to do the things that it's meant to do there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and we're going to be there to see it, I guess. So that's fun. Do you have anything else here? I mean, obviously it's a lot to add, but I feel like with Pluto and Aquarius, we will have the time to talk about it, you know, as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that start to come up over for sure over this next year. So I think that you're right. Like there's so much that's going to be coming up and that we're going to be able to discuss as time goes on. I think this is like a really just good like intro to what to expect as these things start to happen. Oh, but yes, I love that. I can't see who said it. Awakening to our divinity. That's exactly right. I think this whole year, by the way, is going to be an awakening to divinity. And I think that's there's so much that's going to be happening this year that is going to be like imagine you're hiking and you get to a wall and it's a wall made out of stones and you're like, well, I want to continue on the path that I'm on. I want to turn back around and go the way I just came. So all of these kind of transits that are so notable and happening this year are us taking these stones down off of the stone wall so that we can continue to move forward. Some people are going to be deterred. Some people are going to be like, this is no, no, I don't, those are, they're like, they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They're going to see that wall and they're going to be like, that looks too insurmountable, or I don't want to hurt myself taking down pieces of the wall. And some people will turn back around and they will, so to say, turn their back against their divinity. But anybody else that's willing to take those stones down, it's just like we're stepping into a whole new us, a whole new period, a whole new like time period even. So I think like that's a perfect way of putting it, all stepping into our divinity now. That's what 2023 is. You know how you can see like little clips that people share like on Instagram of TikTok videos? And someone had actually said that numerology, according to numerology, if you divine year, the entire 2023 is divine.